Okay, so chances are, even if you're a casual adult male gamer, you probably have this bad boy here. This is obviously the Xbox 360. It needs no introduction. And you're probably playing games like Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 and Halo 3 ODST, and the other 8 billion AAA titles that are for the 360. But there's a problem with games for the Xbox 360 and PS3 and even the PC, is that games like Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 and Halo 3 ODST take a lot of time to get good at. Especially the multiplayer on Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. If you don't have hours upon hours upon hours each week to sit there and study the maps and get good, you won't have a chance in hell. These games are very intense. So as much as I do love this console, there's just sometimes I don't have the time or energy to get into the games for it. Sometimes I want something simple, quick, and affordable that I can bring other people into that isn't intimidating. So what kind of console could provide that kind of entertainment? Well, I'll give you some hints. It wasn't a console released in the previous generation or even launched in the 1980s. And this is the joystick that comes with the console. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the Atari 2600. This console was originally released in 1977 and went on to sell 30 million units. It was a breakout success. It wasn't the first mainstream console released to the general public, but it was the first successful one which brought gaming into many American homes. We'll do a pan shot of the absolutely incredible, fashionable wood grain in front of the console. And I'll let you know something right now. This logo plus this wood grain will make the panties drop if a lady comes to your home. Guaranteed. Okay, let's take a look at some other features on the 2600 now. You have your power switch here. And in case you haven't gone over to one of those newfangled color TVs yet, they give you the option for color TV or black and white TV. That right there alone proves the age of the Atari 2600. This right here, of course, is the cartridge slot. You take an absolute classic like Berserk, you take it and you flip it away from you, which is an interesting way to put a cartridge in, and you simply push, and there you go. You're ready to play some Berserk. Over here you have your game select and game reset buttons. Obviously the game reset button doesn't need an explanation, but the game select, if you had a cartridge that had multiple games on it, which a lot of times Atari cartridges did, you would select through the games by flipping down this switch. Let's take a look at the business end of the Atari. The first thing I'm going to talk about is the permanently attached RF cable, which is a huge mistake because if it ever breaks, you're screwed. You have your RF channel switch for 2 and 3. One of your controller ports, which is on the back of the system, which was an interesting design choice, or let's say a stupid one. You have your player 1 and player 2 difficulty setting switches between A and B. So I guess if your buddy wants to play a more challenging game than you, he can by just going like that. You have your power supply input right here. And of course, you have your second controller port right here. Okay, now let's take a look at the Atari 2600 joystick. Very simple design, not too much to say. You have the control stick right here, one fire button, and that's it. Now, even back in the day with the Atari, this was considered obsolete, and there were even some games that will require you to plug the second joystick into the second controller port and use the extra button for extra features. But, you know, it worked for its time. It was adequate. It's not the most comfortable controller in the world, but it's far from the worst. Now, here is an interesting tidbit of information for you. If you end up getting an Atari 2600, you don't have to use this joystick. You can actually use the Sega Genesis 3-button or 6-button controllers. Let me show you something. This is the connector for the Atari 2600. This is the connector for the Sega Genesis. They are identical. Now, obviously, only one button will work on the Sega Genesis controller, but this is a fantastic controller, so if you're not comfortable with this, you could simply use this and the games will play a lot better for you. Now, obviously, the biggest reason to get an Atari 2600 is because of the tremendous library of video games. Here are just a few AAA titles right here. We have Asteroids, Space Invaders, Warlords, Missile Command, Combat, Berserk, and River Raid, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. There are tons more great games for this system. Now keep in mind, one of the problems with getting a 2600 is that it is a very coveted item, and a lot of retailers know that, and a lot of private sellers know that, so they really gouge the prices. Now this is a 4-switch Woody. The original model was a 6-switch Woody, and even before that there was an American 6-switch Woody, and some newer models were the Atari 2600 Junior and the Vader model. So there's a lot of different options out there. Honestly, I would have been fine with a Junior, but I got a sweet deal on this system. Just to compare prices, there was a private retailer around my area that shall remain nameless that was selling this exact model with 5 games and 1 controller for $100. Stone Age Gamer was selling this unit in pristine condition with 10 games, 2 brand new controllers, the AC adapter for $39.99. So if you look hard enough, you could find some sweet deals, but just be careful that you don't spend too much. So the Atari 2600 is a great console to have under your television. It is approachable by anybody, which makes it a great social system and will last you for years to come. Anyway, this is Rich of ReviewTechUSA. For more gaming and technology reviews, go to youtube.com/ReviewTechUSA. Thank you for watching. Okay, Feline's Choice. We're going to run a clinical test and see which game this kitty would choose to play. Okay, kitty. Would you play Combat or Berserk? You're friggin' useless compared to the classic game room dog, man. At least he's cute and eat treats. You just climb the Christmas tree and knock over shit. At least you're fluffy.